What's up everyone and welcome back to another daily outlook. In this daily outlook, I will go over my main pairs and analyze the chart with you guys. Let's begin with the DXY, and as you can see, we are bullish on the daily, took liquidity and are now trading in this daily demand but also in this daily supply. So it's now looking for what price is going to respect. Is it going to respect the supply zone? Are we going to trade down lower? Or are we going to respect the demand zone and will we trade up higher in towards that open supply zone? So then I will go over to the 4 hour to see what we will do. So as you can see, after that liquidity and that 4 hour demand, we switched the order flow bullish over here. And then what happened is that we now have this demand which is in control on the 4 hour and could push price up higher. Now what happened? Inside this demand, we got a 4 hour fractal break to the upside over here. So we created new demand, which could push price up higher. Now keep in mind that if you're looking at the daily open, that we have only been trading up. So this means that we could possibly trade under the daily open and then trade it up. But if you purely look at the 4 hour fractal and what it's doing, it's respecting the low. So we are not breaking the low, we are respecting the low and we could trade up higher. And because we also made a new demand zone, price should just trade up higher today. And that's also what I'm looking for. And especially if we break this high once again, then I know for sure that we will trade up higher in my opinion. So if we then go over to Euro USD, you can see that we have those 3 equal highs, 1, 2, and now we made the third one. And as you can see, there's a lot of liquidity above these highs. So what are people doing? They are buying, buying, and buying. So what do I want to see first before we take that liquidity? I first want to see those buyers getting swiped before I want to go long. Because otherwise, if I go long over here, there's a high likelihood that price is just taking out those buyers and then trade up higher. Because if we now just trade up higher to that liquidity, that means that all of these buyers over here, all these buyers, they make a profit. And to me, it sounds like too much. So I want to see swipe first, especially these lows, step in towards this demand. And if we get some confirmation, then I would look for longs in towards that liquidity. But if we don't get any confirmation, then I would wait and wait. And just wait till we get some confirmation before we can trade up higher in towards that liquidity high. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm also not looking to go short because then again, the highs are still weak, right? So going over to GBP USD, I was looking at shorts yesterday. So what happened is, as you can see on the daily, we took some liquidity above these highs over here. So I was expecting some kind of reaction in towards this daily demand and these lows. So when I went over to the 4 hour to check when price was ready for that pullback, then I can see that we switched the order flow over here, right? But then what you can see is this. So we trade up higher, trade down lower, trade up higher, trade down lower, trade up higher. So for now, you can see that we now have, let me pick a new box. We have now this demand in control, which could push price up higher again, right? So with that in mind, I don't think the shorts are A+ at the moment, even though I see the DXY go up. But that doesn't mean that I have to force myself to take this short. So if I look at the 1 hour though, we are swing bearish and we took some liquidity. The one thing is that we have this high still open, those equal highs. So what do I want to see first? A swipe of those equal highs, and then maybe after we see this go, then we can go short. And then you also create new supply, which could push price down lower. So that's what I'm looking for. And yeah, always guys, patience is key, and just wait for the trade to come to you and wait for those A plus setups to form, and do not force yourself to take any forced trades. So going over to AUD, we are now swing bearish, I think. Yes, we are now swing bearish on AUD itself, so that means that we also created this new supply zone which could push price down lower, right? Why should we trade down lower even though we are bullish? Well, because we broke the 4-hour swing over here, meaning we could get a retracement in towards the 50% level, which is located at least this demand zone. So we could expect some downside in towards this demand. Now if I look at the daily, what is price doing? Yeah, okay, we also have a demand zone over here where we could trade to, and we also created a new supply zone over here because we broke the daily fractal over here, right? This was your daily fractal break, and I think that price could respect the supply zone and trade in towards this demand, and from this demand we could then again trade up higher. So if I go over to the 4-hour, where do I see a possible point to look for shorts? So I can see that we have liquidity above these highs, right? And we have this weekly open. So I might look for a tap in towards that, and then I will look for some lower time frame confirmation in order to short to that demand. Of course, you cannot trade AUD itself, but when I go over to Euro AUD, I can see if I can catch the opposite, because if AUD goes down, Euro AUD goes up. For now, you can see that we are in this supply zone, and it looks like there's still a lot of bullish momentum and we could break through. So at the moment, I would wait for a 4-hour confirmation, break the fractal high, make the fractal low, then break the fractal low, and then I would possibly be ready for shorts. For now, like I said, look at that discount prices, right? I shared in my updates yesterday. We have these discount prices, and you can see price is just reacting from that. So what we could possibly do is take liquidity above this high, maybe even tap in towards this monthly open, and then from there we could look at a small short, or possibly after we break that high, then get a retracement, and then for example this demand zone, look for confirmation, and then we could go long. But this is of course possibly going to be for next week, but you need to wait for the setups to occur and not force yourself, like I just said, because if I want to go long over here, there's a high likelihood that we go short, and if I go short over here, it isn't the highest probability because we are 4-hour swing bullish and we touch the discount prices, so we could just trade up higher. Of course, this is your 1-hour swing, so when you break the 1-hour swing over here, we could get some pullback in towards this demand, so the short might also be valid, but again I will tell that in my next market outlooks because I don't think it's for today. So going over to GBP AUD, you can now see that we grab liquidity above these highs and that we have a demand zone open. We are 4-hour also swing bearish, so we could expect downside. Now that we grabbed liquidity over here, and I would of course want to see 4-hour confirmation before shorting, because otherwise we could just rally up with the bullish momentum. So I first want to see this high go, then some confirmation to the downside, and then short in towards this demand. But if we first tap in towards this demand, then I will look for confirmation and trade in towards that bad high. Now keep in mind guys, we also have trendline liquidity over here, and in the future we could just take it all out and then maybe trade down lower again. So keep that in mind when trading GBP AUD. But for now you can see that price is not in a nice point of interest, so I'm just waiting for price to develop further and wait for the setup to occur. Going over to CAT itself, like I explained in my in my update channel yesterday, price is just going to rally down lower in towards this demand, and from this demand, this liquidity and this really open, price is possibly going to trade up higher in towards that supply zone with that liquidity. So with that in mind, I go over to EUR/CAD and I can see that we are now inside the supply zone, which took liquidity over here. So of course, when a supply zone grabs liquidity, and I think it's more clear on the daily, right? We took liquidity above this high and create the supply zone. We could of course expect a reaction in towards the downside, in towards this demand zone over here. So that is something what I'm looking out for, but keep in mind guys, we are still swing bullish, so we could just rally up higher. But then again, if you look at the higher time frame, you can see that we are in a strong supply zone with a monthly open, and maybe if you grab some liquidity over here, for example, and then get some confirmation on the 4 hour, for example, we trade above that high, then a fractal break, and we create new supply, then we could possibly look for any shorts in towards this open demand zone, of course, right? If you then look at the 1 hour, you can see that we're also like swing bullish over here, also over here. So what could you expect after some confirmation and after this bullish momentum slows down a lot? So maybe grab liquidity above this high, like I said, boom, boom, some bearish momentum kicking in, and then we could go short in towards that open 4 hour demand. So that's what I'm waiting for. But of course, like most pairs, price is now in no man's land. So I'm just waiting out to wait for further development. Going over to my last pair, gold. Like I always say the last time, this is not a nice point to take any trade because we are at the all-time high. So I don't think we should go long because you don't know what's on the left. So we could just trade down lower. And then also, why should we go short? Because look at all that bullish momentum. We could also just trade up higher, right? So that was it, guys. I hope you like my market outlook and see you in the next one. Ciao.